This is Mary Omni from the House of King David. This is a Republic Notice. The title of this Republic Notice is called Constitutional Discrimination and Welfare in Alaska. Constitutional discrimination and welfare in Alaska. Now, why does these two things go together? I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to get to that. And first, let us look at this. Constitutional discrimination is in corporate doctrines of consent and volunteer immigrants who have no constitutionality, that have set up a system of incorporate doctrines. They contract with the U.S. corporation. But the contract with the U.S. corporation means that they're processed as debtors. They're processed as debtors, and they're outside of the Constitution because the Constitution holds no debt. So they're in a constant perpetual war against the Constitution, who is debt-free, and the constitutional citizens who are debt-free. So the constitutional discrimination evidence is this: the categories of all the people that they have, none of the categories even talk about the Constitution. Let's list some of these categories. Now, first of all, I'm looking at Alaska welfare application. You know how these people always saying blacks is on welfare and blacks is this. Now, if these people hadn't applied for welfare, it wouldn't be no category or no need for no category for all these welfare recipients in Alaska. First of all, this is an Alaska welfare application and the categories of all the people who seeking welfare in Alaska. First, they ask you, are you a U.S. citizen or a U.S. national? Notice the word U.S. citizen or U.S. national. U.S. citizen is United Squatters citizen or United Squatters national. There's no such thing as any national except the constitutional citizens' nationalities. Okay? And the word U.S. don't have Constitution in front of it. That's a discrimination against the Constitution. It doesn't say constitutional U.S. citizen or Constitution U.S. national. It doesn't say that, so therefore that's an outright discrimination by omission of the Constitution. They're constantly omitting the constitutional category of a U.S. citizen or a U.S. national so as to have a blatant upfront discrimination against the Constitution to open it up to just incorporate doctrine servitude. Okay, now these are the categories of those who apply for welfare in Alaska. The first one they put is white on the application because the majority of those in Alaska are white welfare recipients. Then they put black or African American. Now notice the word black or African American. Let's focus on that for just a second. Black or African American can be lottie-dottie and anybody. Charlize Theron, which is white, can be considered white and an African American. Any category of any African in this country, which we have different tribes, we have Ethiopians, Somalians, we have Sudanese, all of them could be African American or black. So there's no category for constitutional blacks. They putting them in the category of any black or African in this country and calling them black or African American. There's no constitutional Judaic black American or no constitutional black American citizen category. That is omitted. That is outright blatant discrimination against the Constitution. Outright blatant sorcery against the Constitution by a cult of market of beasts, slaves of mobs to steal and embezzle with the gangsters and the military gun for their assistance. Okay, then we have the Alaska Native. There's no constitutional category of Alaska Natives, even though blacks are the constitutional Alaska Natives because they're the only one in the constitutional contract of Alaska as the land inheritors under non-consent jurisdiction, since Alaska have never been part of consent jurisdiction, and blacks are the only non-consenters, and Alaska has never been part of consent jurisdiction. So it would be naturally that blacks would inherit it as the non-consenters who didn't consent or volunteer to come to America. And Alaska was purchased in 1867 when non-consent jurisdiction was established. So they just say Alaska Native. They don't say constitutional Alaska Natives, which is, again, discrimination against the constitutional citizens and the discrimination against the Constitution. Then we have American Indian. They don't have constitutional American Indian, which would be blacks too. See, if they just have constitutional citizens, it would eliminate all this. But I'm saying the Constitution, we have American Indians that are constitutional American Indians. We have constitutional Alaska Natives and constitutional black Americans. But they eliminate the category of Constitution to put all these in corporate doctrine, bled and hybrids in here. So this is all hybrids who have no constitutionality, where blacks is the real constitutional native, Alaska Native, and citizen. All they have is category of hybrids for in corporate doctrines. Then we have Asian Indian. Blacks are Judasian, and they are the constitutional Asian Indians, okay? Instead, they have a hybrid down there. Okay, we have Chinese, Filipino, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, other Asian, Native Hawaii, Guatemalan or Chamorro, Samoan, other Pacific Islands, and others. So these are all the welfare recipients in Alaska. Let me go over the welfare recipients in Alaska again. And keep in mind, they are hybrids. All of them are hybrids, and all of them are in corporate doctrines because they don't have constitutional in front of them. They try to bleed blacks with any black or any African as to discriminate against their constitutional status. So to discriminate, they bleed them in with all Africans and all blacks in this country, which there are many, as a blatant attempt to discriminate against constitutional citizens. Since there is no category for constitutional citizens, this is evidence of constitutional discrimination. But let me go over the categories of welfare again. White, black or African American, Alaskan Native, American Indian, Asian Indian, Chinese, Filipino, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, other Asian, Native American, Guatemala or Chicora, Samoan, other Pacific Islanders, and others. All these are welfare recipients. And that covers almost the gamut of all those in America. All these are welfare recipients. But all these hybrids and market of beast slaves would accuse blacks of obtaining their own wealth. To blacks is not welfare, is their wealth, not welfare. See, these are the public, mark of the beast, mystery Babylon. Blacks are the republic. This is the discrimination against the republic for embezzlement, and this is evidence. Now, who is doing this? They say the government is doing this because mark of the beast slaves don't mind hijackers being the government. The government is the Constitution, and the Constitution owns the mule that these hijackers are contracting all this market of beast slaves with. The mule is the U.S. corporation. So, you know, we really have both of them as constitutional citizens. And so this war of embezzlement is intense. The government of embezzlement of market of beast sets out to discriminate against the Constitution by using the contracts of what they contract with the U.S. corporation. But the U.S. corporation, ABC, is the U.S. corporation, ABC, American Black Constitutionality. U.S. 15 ABC, meaning the 15th New Jerusalem Wall, American Black Constitutionality. So they omit it, but still, the thing of it is, we still own the U.S. mule. Lincoln was not fabricating a myth. We own the U.S. mule, because the Constitution is the supreme authority over 10-mile radius, the U.S. mule. And so these people are processed as debtors within that mule, and the mules crack them out as abomination of desolation, market of beast slaves. This is Mary Omni from the constitutional government of King David. Shalom.
This is my country.